Welcome to the May 11th, 2022 Planning Board meeting for the Town of Raymond. The Planning Board will come to order. The board does have a quorum, and we'll start with roll call.
Greg Foster.
Robert O'Neill.
Mark Childs.
And via Zoom. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you are unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have a Brandon Chase, a Settlers Ridge Road subdivision for a public hearing. We also have a public hearing for amended for approved subdivision for a change of a property line by Michelle Bolin. A sketch plan review for the Jordan Bay Marina and Port Harbor Marine. A site plan review for management controls. I believe this one is going to get tabled. We've got a pre-application subdivision amended review presented by Daigle Financial and Development LLC, and an informal discussion on, wow, I'm going to mispronounce your name, Francis Shabowski. Did you that? You hear, Francis? If not,
No, he postponed as well.
Yeah, that one requested to be tabled.
okay. Well, geez, I could have saved myself that embarrassment. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances or state law. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand at the microphone and the podium and state your name, address, and affiliation with the application. After the board votes on the merits of each applicant, we will prepare a written notice of decision. Because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regard to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court or as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual rights to file any such appeal, you must be certain that the board records evidence of your appearance this evening. All right, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes for the April 13th, 2022. Any changes?
Yeah, on page 2, Bob stated the board previously waived the 100-foot roadway connection. Isn't that 1,000 feet?
It is.
That's the only change I see to make.
Did you catch that, Sandy?
Aye.
Okay.
Move to accept the minutes as written
And modified?
Second.
and modified.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Pass 4-0. All right. Next up is the Brandon Chase subdivision represented by Bob McSorley of Sebago Technics. And Will, you are our planner, is that correct?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
It's somewhat muted.
Will, do you have any opening comments, or should we go right to Bob McSorley? Can you hear me, Will?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, now we can, better.
Okay. No, I think
Now really.
the applicant should be able to give a presentation and then move into public hearing and proceed from there.
Okay. Rob, you ready?
I am. I just to share the screen.
Okay.
Hopefully it's getting in there.
Alex, do you remember the abutter that was concerned about the water runoff? Do you remember his name?
George Mata?
George Mata.
Yeah.
You got it.
That's it. He's not. George Mata, are you here this evening by chance? Because before you start off, I think we gave him a misinformation when he was asking questions about the water runoff onto his property for development. I think the land is set up so that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the water is not going to run onto his property,
No.
but if he developed that property, he would be responsible for making sure that the water did not run onto the property, correct?
It could run onto our property if it was historically going that way.
Right.
But he would be limited to the amount of discharge he had before development.
Okay. It's good. I don't think we gave him that.
Yeah, Will and I had addressed some of his concerns a few weeks ago. He came in to meet with me, and then he sent Will an email that Will was able to answer. So I think his concerns have somewhat been addressed.
Okay.
So I think he's got some of that information that he needs.
Okay. Okay, Rob, sorry. Just want to make sure we got through that.
Okay, I'm not gonna be able to share, so I just put up our schematic there. Really hasn't changed.
Is it volume?
He is.
Yes.
Hello? You got me?
It might not be on.
Is that better?
I think you just turned it off.
Okay.
That's hard.
Okay, good. There was not much change since the last meeting. We had gone over quite a few of the comments and whatnot, and there were some outstanding items that were requested to be resolved. We have resubmitted on that, and what I was going to do was just go over the memos that you got last week from the fire department and Will, because they were pretty straightforward. Looking at the comments from Will, there was 8 pretty straightforward comments. MDEP permit, we're still in the process. I think we're within a couple weeks of their jurisdictional time frame, so we should be seeing that permit come out for the stormwater permit here within a couple weeks. The next 2 comments relative to the HOA documents. Exhibit B will actually end up being the stormwater management report, inspection, maintenance, and housekeeping document that's listed in number 3. So we will include that into the HOA docs when they're finalized. And number 4 was asking for a final copy of that before they're recorded. As noted, don't have a problem with that. Number 5, vernal pool assessment since the last meeting. As I told you when we originally laid out the project, we did it to avoid all the wetlands and to try to get as much separation on the wetlands as we could. We did an overall calculation of the site that's similar to what you do for Army Corps, where they also look at only a 25% of the impact within the terrestrial habitat area for the critters. So that's what we had done initially. Since then, we've gone out and did a vernal pool assessment, and we do have 6 of them on site, 4 of them, which we have to address with DEP. And the way that DEP looks at them is slightly different from Army Corps. They don't look at it globally, the impact. They want all impact to one side, away from the vernal pool area. We had a meeting this morning with MDEP and working through the permitting issues on the vernal pools. So just to let you know, we did do them. We're dealing with DEP and going to get through that process. Ditch calculations, those were previously in the prior calculations on the plans that I actually sent a copy of late today. Probably Will has not had a chance to look at it, but we have indicated where there are 2 different types of erosion control blanket that will be used in the swales along the roadway. The entryway going in is about an 8% slope that has a certain velocity max on the water that would happen in the swale, so it gets a little beefier erosion control blanket, and then the rest of them will be the one that we normally spec. And there's a general note on the plans to that effect. Number 7, we made the separation for the outlet control structure. We just moved it over 10 feet. Not an issue on that. His comment number 8, as noted, we will comply with all the fire department comments. Did talk with Mr. Jones on the.
What, did you have the May 4th memo on that? From
Excuse
the
me?
fire department? On the fire department, you just said you addressed the fire department concerns?
We'll, yeah, we'll comply with all those, like.
Do you
under
have the
Will's,
the
I
May
just-
4th memo?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go through those real quick.
All right, no, it's okay, I just want to make sure you have it.
Yeah, yeah. The first comment was relative to the notation on the plans. Our station was right in the notes, but wrong on the plan, so we corrected that. Mr. Jones asked for additional signage on the opposite side of the street for the fire lanes, which we've added. The E91 addresses were on the plans. It was just not very clear, so in talking with Mr. Jones, he realized that they were there. Number 4, the street break address signage. We had a note on the plans at the entrance that called out the 2 different plans that need to be. There's a street name sign and there's a supplementary sign that has the address. He said that was fine. He just asked for a graphic of what it would look like. So right on that plan sheet, we have basically showed Settlers Ridge Road, and then under it, 101 to 113 with an arrow. So, number 5, 6, and 7 are just saying we complied or will comply, and as noted. So, as far as the comments were concerned, pretty minor. The only issues that I see is getting the permits from DEP for the project. And we'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Do you anticipate changes to the plans based upon the vernal pool assessment?
I hope not. I think we're trying to clarify from the DEP. The person we talked to this morning didn't have a lot of experience. And so we're looking at mitigation for some of the upland habitat area that we impact. We don't impact any of the vernal pools. It's only the upland habitat. And as you know, the way we've laid out the plan is there's, 14 acres of open space track and another 2 acres of an open space easement over the wetlands. So when we look at that, we think we have enough for what's called directional buffers for the critters to go in that direction for the upland habitat that they desire. That's a concept that was developed by the University of Maine, Mr. Calhoun, who is the expert on this, and there's guidance that's published by the Army Corps of Engineers that we're referring to when we talk about that. So I hope that we will not be changing the configuration now. Okay?
Okay. Will?
Yeah, just a quick question on the vernal pool. Rob, I don't believe you submitted the assessment to the town, or maybe you have and I just missed it, but I think that is a requirement as part of the ordinance, so we would like to get a copy of that. I know you're working with DEP on that, but we would like to get a copy of that as well.
Yeah, and I think in the response we said it would be part of the permit that the town gets a copy of, the permit submittal. So yeah, it will be submitted to the town.
Okay, this, you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. This has been advertised as a public hearing. I will open the public hearing if there's anybody that wants to comment on the project from the audience. All right, so open the public hearing, and we shall, no takers, close the public hearing. All right, questions from, Will, do we have anything outstanding other than the DEP and the vernal pool work?
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't had a chance to review the the ditch velocities and the ditch lining, but based on what Rob said, I believe that, you know, he's probably added what's necessary. I will take a look at that, just to be sure. I guess, yeah, as you had asked, Mr. Chairman, the question about changes relative to the vernal pool discussion with DEP, that would be really my only other concern at this point. And I guess if we were to conditionally approve this tonight, you know, that if there were changes to the plan, I guess I would probably recommend that, you know, obviously they'd come back for another planning board meeting to amend that if there were changes that were required as part of that vernal pool discussion and permitting with DEP.
Yeah, well, we could do preliminary approval. We couldn't do final approval without actually getting the DEP reports.
Okay, yeah.
So, what do you guys think?
A little bit of me, I understand that, you know, the process and getting this going for the construction crews, but I feel that we wait to see about, you know, what we hear back from DEP before we move forward. I mean, because the plan might change. If it doesn't, then we'll push it through final next time.
Yeah, I don't know that we have a choice.
Yeah. Okay. I don't really, at this point, I don't really see any benefit in the conditional, in a preliminary approval, excuse me, with the conditional. It doesn't, I don't think the board is opposed to a final approval at the next meeting if everything is done.
Okay.
We don't need to have a preliminary approval prior to a final approval, is what,
Yeah.
basically what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I think that's our only thing that we're, at this point, that we're waiting on.
All the other issues are taken care of, it's
Yep.
just those two. Yep.
Yep. Does that sound good with you?
Sound good to me.
Kevin, you okay with that?
Sounds good.
All right. So then we will table you to the June something meeting. The June meeting.
I guess one question I have for you, Mr. Chair, is there is one waiver. I don't know, maybe you want to wait until final approval for that waiver, or you could take care of it tonight, I guess, in terms of voting on that one waiver relative to the length of the dead-end street.
Oh, for the length of the street?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's not an issue.
Okay.
Yep, thanks though, Will. You've submitted Robert, you've submitted that waiver request in writing, right?
Yes.
I think that was in the first package, right?
It's actually in the plan, too.
Okay.
As a condition.
Move to table the, let's see, major subdivision for Settlers Ridge subdivision until the June,
Planning board meeting.
whatever meeting it
Yeah.
is.
June 9th or whatever.
Second?
Second?
Where'd you go? All those in favor? Kevin? Okay. All right, Robbie, table the next meeting.
Thank you, sir.
What's my agenda? So our next is the public hearing. What are we doing? Jordan Bay Marina. And that's not. Is that Will? Will, are you
I
on
think you
the?
had a,
Will, are you doing the Jordan Bay Marina?
Yes.
He said yes.
Yes.
Okay. As. You are presenting the project though, right, Will?
Corley's presenting the project.
Why is there, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Sorry, Will.
Good evening, once again, Rob McSorley with Sebago Technics. Here representing the owner, Port Harbor Marine. We're coming before you for Jordan Bay Marina. This is a project that we've been before you several times over the last several years. Just give you a rundown of the history. In November 2014, we reconfigured the parking and the entryway into the marina and took down an existing structure right where the drive down into the marina exists today. May 2015, we came, not before you, but we got a site plan approved from the CEO for across the street for outdoor sales. In September 2016, we came back before you for getting approval for a leased boat storage on the Butters property, which is actually the subject of this application or pre-application meeting. And that exists kind of, I'll point it out in a second to you. In July 2020, we came before you for an approval of the, or an expansion to the marina docks, which was approved. There were some appeals on that, which went through the course and finally were resolved. In October of last year, we went before the ZBA. The front strip of this parcel that we're looking at today, the former Hartley property, is in the commercial zone. And in order to have outdoor sales and service within that zone, we need to get a conditional use approval. And so we went before the ZBA for that before we came to you. And that was approved with the condition of now no outdoor engine repair as part of the approval process, which we didn't have a problem with. The property that you're looking at before you today, it's a 5.9 acre property previously owned by the Hartleys. We're proposing development on the 3.5 acres that front along Roosevelt Trail and back up to the Portland Pipeline easement. The balance of the site, there is one area, small area. If you look on the lower left-hand part of our drawing, you'll see a treatment area, but otherwise, all the property to that side of the Portland Pipeline easement will be preserved and not touched in any way. The expansion is for expansion of the land-based activities for the marina, including sales and service and storage of boats. One of the things for the storage of boats is to lessen the necessity right now for off-site boat storage. Right now, most of our off-site storage happens 4.5 miles away up in Casco, and that's quite a process and quite a danger to go out there and transport those boats back and forth. So this site will use the lower half of that for some of that off-site boat storage. As you see on the southern side of the site, there is a 15-foot buffer along the adjacent commercial parcel that fronts along Roosevelt Trail. As you come back, you hit the residential zone of the Shoreland Zoning District, and the required buffer there goes to 30 feet. That's what we've indicated. Actually, it's going to end up being a little bit more than that because we've held those 15 and 30 feet, and we will transition grade up from there to where we're going to put final grade. So it's going to be a little bit more than the minimum along there. Down in the southwest corner, you'll see that we've kind of pulled everything back. There's a isolated section of wetland. It allows us to provide a little bit more buffer over there to the couple units or camps or houses that are in that area. And once again, all of the area to the west of the Portland pipeline easement will be reserved and preserved. We have surveyed the property completely. If you look really closely at your plans, you'll see there's some landscape looking like trees that our landscaper puts on there for a graphic effect, but there are actually below that the locations of all the trees on site were surveyed so that we could make sure that we complied with the shoreline zoning requirement for clearing of species trees. And the proposed plan that you have before you, concept plan, would remove less than 40% of those within the shoreline district, which I believe is the limit. We did have a wetland delineation completed by our wetland scientist, and it was also reviewed for vernal pools, and thankfully there's no issue there. We will design a couple underdrain soil filters that are to the down gradient side of the project. They'll be used to meet water quality and quantity and phosphorus for the runoff for the development portion of the site. Relative to the existing easement, I'd like to walk over to the plan for a second.
Sure.
I'll screen.
Well, you could take, is that a, could you take that with you, I think, or is that the remote one or wired? Okay.
Right in this corner of the site here is the existing area where we have boats parked on. That was part of the lease approval of the abutters property. And we will not be going down and doing any more development down along the pipeline easement. It'll be restricted to that. Actually, we're going to restrict what we do there also. Once again, we do have an area there where we store boats currently in behind the current residence. That was part of the approval that I mentioned previously. What we're going to do is, one of the heartaches that Portland Pipeline had and has with the movement over the pipeline with all the loads and equipment and whatnot.
Let's see if you need to go over there again. About that.
Thank you.
And when we went through the approval for the abutters storage area that we got approved, they were very concerned about what loads we would put on that, and that we didn't put anything significant that could damage that, the two oil lines that are there. I actually had to do a calculation for them based upon the thickness of their pipes and the depth of the pipes that they're at. Actually, those pipes could take quite a bit of load. So, but that being said, we have laid this out so that any of the lift traffic that we have for lifting boats and moving boats around will not occur over the pipeline on the new property. On our old property, we're, as they said, grandfathered, and we can do what we wish. But over here, we've deliberately made it so that our major machinery will not go over those oil lines. In fact, we've shown just for some parking storage on it right now, which would be light load. Relative to the project, we have submitted to DEP for a pre-application meeting. We just got a date set with them, and we will be meeting with them in 2 weeks. Based upon the nature of this project, their project overall will now go to a site law level. To this point, there has been no permitting other than the permits that we had to get for wetlands, for being adjacent to a wetland on the other side of the street, and of course, what we did in the lake when we expanded the marina on this side. Up until that point, the thresholds did not exceed the stormwater permit threshold nor the site law threshold. Well, with this permit, it will exceed, it looks like, the site law threshold. So this will become a site law project for the DEP. And as part of that, we will also have some NERPA or wetland impact permits, because there are some wetlands that we will be impacting on the site. That's kind of an overview of what we're proposing and what we got to go through. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions from you or public.
Okay, thanks, Rob. First question, pre-application staff meeting, according to our ordinances, was not done yet, is that correct?
The pre-application was,
Staff meeting with,
no, we've been,
I mean, we've been talking about this for over a year now. I think it was last March we started.
yeah,
okay,
So I
So-
would say comfortably that
that it has been done,
we've had a couple of them.
okay.
Yeah.
Next question before we start, Rob, for the board, do you want to set a site walk date to go look at what's being proposed?
sure.
Do you think?
That's what I
Sounds
brought
good.
this.
Okay. Kevin?
Yep.
Okay. Here I got our calendars. What, well, actually, Will, you're probably the toughest one. When are you free, Will? Or when are you not free? You're on mute. Will, you're on mute.
Do you plan on doing a site walk during the week or on the weekend, or what's your preference, I guess?
We could, it's plenty of light out during the week, so we could do it
Yeah.
during the week. I don't think with any problem. Rob, Alex, during the week okay with you guys?
Oh, it's perfect. Yep.
Perfect?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it during the week.
Okay. So would that be like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, or what are we talking?
Probably 6 o'clock.
Six?
6 o'clock?
Plenty of light.
Okay.
What, before you answer that, Rob, when you said DEP in 2 weeks, is
Yeah.
it worthwhile waiting until you have your DEP meeting to do
October
the sidewalk?
25th. You can do it before or after, it makes no difference to us.
Well, I know that, but I'm just, Will, what do you think? Do you think it's worthwhile waiting until after the DEP initial review?
I mean, your DEP meeting is just a pre-application meeting, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
No, so,
Yeah, so it really doesn't make much
Okay.
difference in terms of the site walk.
all right. Let's,
So if it's
We
a,
have time to advertise it.
oh yeah, thank you, Sandy. We need 30
So-
days, right?
Yes.
And you need to get it
But
in.
we usually do it twice. We usually do it 2 weeks ahead if we can.
so Sandy, can you tell me when the first date would be that we could have it based on your advertising requirements?
Well, let's see. If I got the notice out tomorrow, it would go in. I'm just trying to get my calendar in front of me here.
Yep.
It would go in on the 20th, because they only publish on Fridays. So I would say that if you did it after the 20th, we would be fine, and we'll just run it the one time.
After 20th, June 20th?
No, May.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so the week of the 23rd, I mean, if it's at 6 o'clock at night, it could be any night that week.
Yeah, that works for me.
Any night that week works for you?
But again, the publication has to be 7 days before.
So so you're going to get it published?
The earliest you could do it would be the 27th.
Oh,
That's what I thought. Okay,
Okay.
So the week of the 30th on.
right.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day weekend, let's not do it then. How about the,
Well, June 1st.
June 1st?
Wednesday?
No. How about the 2nd?
That sounds good.
June 2nd? June 2nd?
Yeah, works for me.
June 2nd?
Sounds good.
Will, did you say yes to June 2? And Rod, June 2nd? Alex? Okay. 6 o'clock on June 2nd.
I'll get that notice out tomorrow and it can run twice at that point.
Perfect. Where to meet?
There is the driveway there, for the residents. You could probably park some people in there. In the rest, you can probably come down into the marina, and park towards the bottom of the hill. There shouldn't be too much activity down there.
Okay,
Well, I'll make sure that, we provide an area.
okay.
Okay?
Alrighty. I don't think there's anything else. Do we have, Kevin, you have anything else you want to add?
No.
You guys, okay? Will, is there anything we're missing?
Yeah, I guess just a couple quick things. So we talked about the pre-application staff meeting, we're set on that. I guess one question that in the ordinance that I had, and again, it doesn't necessarily apply right now, but to give direction for the future was, I guess, need for review of the applicant to review the design guidelines, and I think that's relative to the building in the commercial zone, the new building in the
Right.
commercial zone. So I guess I didn't know if you wanted to have any discussion with the applicant on that right now, or we can wait till later, but I guess in terms of providing them with guidance so they know how to proceed might be helpful, but.
Are you familiar with our design guidelines?
Not yet, but won't take much.
Okay, so how about, if you would, for the next time you come, if you would look through those design guidelines, and basically it's architectural siding, structure, that type of thing, so that the construction fits in with
Yeah,
the community.
I'll review it, and if I have any questions, I'll go through Alex.
Okay, perfect, thank
I
you, Will.
believe typically you guys accept a narrative explaining how they're gonna meet the design
Yes.
guidelines. That's
Okay.
usually sufficient.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
I guess the only other thing from my end, and this for Rob, is, you know, when I went through it, again, at the sketch plan level, there wasn't a huge amount of description in terms of like number of boats that are planned on being stored and boats that are planned on being in the display area. So if in the future, just, I'm assuming it will happen, but just be somewhat more clear, I guess, in terms of those types of statistics, if you will. And so we have an understanding of what's actually going in. I mean, I counted up the boats that you show on your plan, but I'm not sure if that's a real number or if it's something different than that.
I actually drew those to scale. So
Oh, nice.
we'll have a discussion with the owner, and then we'll summarize that.
All right.
so, and Rob, one final thing, impact on parking, is that, will there be?
There shall be no impact on parking. If you remember right, there was a condition of approval relative to when we got the marina expanded. And what we did put up a camera, and we checked the camera for the video footage for weekends and the holidays. And I actually submitted a letter to Alex. I don't know if he submitted it on to you, but there was no problem.
Okay,
So, and we don't anticipate any problem, and we got some additional space here. This won't generate any more people at the dock. There's not going to be any more slips with this approval. So,
okay.
okay?
I guess before we go, I mean, I don't know if Wayne had any specific concerns that he wanted to mention based on his memo, so.
Yes, thank you, through to the chair. On the actual building, what's the use of that building gonna be? Because that wasn't clear in the sketch plan so far.
Sales and service, similar to what they have now, mainly sales stuff on this building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other items are covered in my memo of the 9th as far as access and fire protection.
Read it and understand it, and we'll of course have some coordination when we get there.
Great.
Okay?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Wayne. Okay, Reb, I don't think we need a motion. I think it's just a sketch plan review, so I think we're all set.
Okay.
Welcome back, Mr. Seymour. Thank you, Will.
Signing off.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Board.
Come again.
Can I ask why there wasn't an announcement about this meeting to abutters?
For a sketch plan review, who's talking?
Hi, this is Allison Sarna from Indian Point. I'm
Oh.
a butter. We went to the meeting last fall, and the plans are very different than this, so I would just have assumed that we would have gotten an update.
Yep, you will get a notice for the site walk as an abutter, and then you will get a notice for when the public hearing on the project is going to be held as an abutter. But
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
also that parking information can be shared as well. Thanks.
yeah, I would address that to Alex. He
I
has.
sent 2 letters already asking for it, so when you guys get a chance, if you could
All
do
right.
that, that would be great.
Okay.
Do we have an updated person to contact? Indian Point had a person on their list that,
I got that. Yeah, you're right. By the way, did you send it just to Alex, or did you send it to the Indian Point contact person?
What's that?
The letter with the parking data, did you send it just to Alex?
No, it was just to Alex.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's that one.
here you go, Mike.
All right.
Mike.
Did you do Egypt Road while I was done?
No, we're not.
That's
we're not.
next, I think.
We are up to Michelle Bullock on the road. Where, did you just give us that?
I think I gave that one to Sandy. No, I think I have it. I copied the wrong one.
I think you did, because we don't have that one.
Yeah.
No, I got it here. I have it. And I did send them out to those people via email back at the town office.
Do the emails just not go through, or what happens?
I don't know, I sent them to everybody just now back at the town hall.
Okay.
Oh, I actually did have it.
All right, so we're gonna be a little behind the curve here.
Let me make some notes. I did.
Okay, so next up is the applicant, Michelle Bolin, for a property line amendment to Forest Resource Trust property. I assume you are here, Michelle? Hi, thanks, Michelle. Sure, if you could just wait 1 second. We're a little bit behind on yours, just having well, I tell you what, you go ahead and start with what you're requesting, and then we'll let Jim fill in.
Okay, so my name's Michelle Boland, 211 Egypt Road, and I'm the applicant. So I'm requesting that the be able to move the property line between myself and Jason Benner, who's online there. So kind of the history is that I believe that both houses were built in '94, and it was just discovered this, well, about a year ago today, that my well, the utility pole, part of my driveway are on his property, and it also puts my garage to be too close to the property line. So we're requesting that I be able to purchase a piece of his property to be able to correct the property line so that all of my items are on my property and not on his. And I do not believe that that would make either of our properties non-conforming.
Okay. Jim?
So sorry, I thought I got this out yesterday to you guys, but it's a fairly simple process for this one. It's an amended subdivision plan because we're changing property lines. As you noted in my memo, which I apologize you all just received, there's a few things we just need to clean up, which we can do as conditions. One, we'll need a stamp plan from a surveyor with a signature block for the board to sign. It should just note on, if they're just going to do it for these two lots, we just need to have a note on the plan that says it only impacts lot 1 and lot 2. The second one should be, we need to see that the pins are going to be set for the new property line on that plan.
Okay.
3, a note saying, I just spelled out what the note should say, basically that this amends the previously recorded plan from 1984. And 4, I just need updated areas for lots 1 and lot 2 because the areas have changed for the independent lots. And we'll want to make sure that side setbacks have been met. I know that the garage was close. We'll just need to make sure, have a note on here or some kind of delineation that we're not creating a non-conforming structure there. And then finally, as I said, it has to be stamped by a surveyor and signature block for the board. So it's pretty straightforward. I really don't have anything. I'm glad they're correcting this. It's just a matter of some details of cleaning up the plan.
Okay. Is somebody helping you through all this?
I believe Survey Inc. is.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, your address is not Egypt Road, Gray, Maine, is that correct?
Correct, it's Raymond.
Okay. So it would be helpful if you got them to correct that for us, to Raymond, so that...
Yep.
And, oh, I see, okay.
On the plan itself.
Right.
And I did speak to one of the surveyors out there and I made them aware of the things we'd want to see. So when you discuss it with them, they should be, just give them my memo and they should understand. I already kind of went through it with them.
Okay. So I guess I'm a little unclear in terms of what my responsibility is.
You have to provide us a plan, or your surveyor will have to provide us a plan that has these 5 items that I've outlined included on your plan, and then that will allow the board to sign the plan. We can't sign it without a surveyor's stamp and without a block for the board to sign. And we can, the board, if it so chooses, can approve it tonight. We just can't execute it until we have that plan. And to execute it, we don't need to come back to the board. We can do it at the town office at another time.
Okay.
And your surveyor should be pretty, you know, should be very familiar with,
Yes.
he should be very familiar with what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. A lot of paper, Jim, for a short.
Well, I just wanted to, you know, eventually, I didn't know if you guys wanted to go through each one of the, you know, technically we're supposed to go through it. You could do it as a lump sum here with the
Yeah, I don't think
subdivision
there's any-
criteria.
I don't think there's any reason to.
You can just say, just per
Yeah.
review his memo.
Kevin, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Greg?
Okay, I move that we accept the,
I like Greg.
yeah, what do we call this? Amendment to an existing
It was
Lot
called,
subdivision?
just to give, it was called Forest Resources Trust Property Subdivision.
Okay.
Lot, amended to lot 2.
An amendment to Lot 2 with the following conditions. One, that the plan is stamped by a surveyor. 2, that it impacts lots 1 and 2. And 3, what was it, locate the pins?
Pins.
Yeah, they have to show the pins to be set on the revised property line.
And do we need to include, verify that the setbacks are,
We
At
just need
minimums, or-
to show the distance on the plan, that's all.
okay, show the setback distance
Yep.
on the plan. Was that it?
And a plan, right? And a,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just notes on the plan per my memo, that's all.
right, notes on the plan.
And the notes on the plan from
the
Jim's
plan
memo.
Yep, perfect.
The total acreage remains the same.
I'm sorry?
The total acreage remains the same from the sale of one property?
No, they'll have to
No.
update, they have to update the areas in my memo.
So it's not gonna be exact same?
They didn't do it, they didn't necessarily do well, I don't think they did a swap, they
No.
just did,
Look like
it doesn't look like, it looks like just a conveyance
Okay.
from one to the other.
Right.
So, they just have to update the areas, there's plenty of area in both lots, it's not a problem.
Cool. Sounds good.
And there's no, it's not contested, right? You're,
No.
Yeah.
No, and
Okay,
actually
that's-
Jason's on there. I don't know if he has anything to add.
No, I think we're good. Is there any discussion? So the motion is to approve. All those in favor? And Kevin?
You need a second on that.
Yeah, second. Kevin seconded and approved.
Thank you.
All right, you're done. So just all you need, so the motion is approved. Your request has been approved. But you can't do anything yet until you get those items in to the town. Then those items will come back to the board just for signatures for the final approval. But you're all set.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I believe so. And then, so I'll then wait till someone will give me the page with the signatures on it, or?
No, so your next step would be to get to your surveyor.
Right, so once I get that and come to the town,
Right,
the board will sign it, and then I'll get a copy of that?
yes.
Yeah, once we sign it, we'll be notified that it's signed, and then you can take it, it has to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds once the board signs it.
You want to probably take page 2, right?
Do you have this?
I do have it.
Page 2
Yeah.
of that
Yep.
has the list of things. You want to give that right to Bill, and he should know what to do from there.
Okay,
Somebody, Survey Inc. should know what to do.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next. Is that the next one?
All right. Next thing is the site plan review management control LLC in Big Lakes Marine, and I'm told that's been
Tabled. Yeah.
tabled. So do we need to table, or are they just,
Yeah, you probably should.
because they have not,
Motion to table,
they have
yeah.
not removed it?
I think they.
Sandy, I think it was a table.
Yeah, I think they requested it to be tabled to the next meeting.
They did.
Okay.
Yes, they requested that they be tabled at the June meeting, and they'll let us know.
All right. So I move that we table the application for the management control LLC Big Lake Marine Construction until the June meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Greg seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passed. All right. Dustin again. Jeez, it's almost been a month.
Couldn't stay away.
Yeah. All right.
Should be this one.
Which one?
They have the 2 duplexes.
Yep, I'm just trying to, names don't match here. Or am I on the wrong one?
It should be Daigle Financial.
That's the wrong one.
I've got the wrong one. Okay,
Yeah, that's
now I got the right
it.
one. now your memo, Jim. Did you just give that to us?
I didn't. I actually gave that one to Sandy a couple days ago.
Yeah, that was in the mailing.
Yeah, you want this one? I think that's his. Is it?
Yep, that's it. Okay, good. Maybe I can have it. All right, Jim.
All right, so this is here this evening as a pre-application for 2 duplexes to be proposed on a lot within the Westview subdivision. The board, a few of you members probably remember, this came in a few years ago for an extension. Albert Frick came in for an extension on the end of this, to put a new hammerhead for his son and for some other lots. So this is lot 48D on the tax map, and it has sufficient area that it could support 4 dwelling units. This is in the village residential district, so it obviously has a lower density requirement. The applicant has proposed 2 duplexes that are connected with a roof overhang. There'll be 2 separate driveway cuts coming off Westview. There's a list of things here that I have kind of provided early on just to give them some guidance. Again, this will be technically under, I've talked to the surveyors, and technically under the law, because we have a site plan ordinance that also is equivalent to a subdivision review, this would fall under site plan review, but I would just recommend that we just kind of do them both just to cover our you-know-whats. Because we are adding more dwelling units to the subdivision. The development itself, based on our conversations with the engineer, has sufficient area to support the 4 dwelling units just within their own lot here. So I don't know if we need to go all the way back and look at the whole total net residential area. I think it suffices that, it meets it just for the lot, then it'll have plenty for the whole development. They want to do subsurface septic systems on this. The one item or a couple items that I'll have will be, again, we'll have to have a survey stamp, net density, just the calculations on the plan. We'll need a passing test pit for the septic system. All the conditions that were tied to the original Westview Drive subdivision must be adhered to. Any homeowners agreements or restrictions, they must become a member of that association, and I believe per the fire department's memorandum, they will be required to have sprinklers in these buildings. We'll need to verify that the road for this section meets the private road standards for the number of units to be served. I think visual buffering is going to be an issue for the neighbors, so we may want to take a look at how they're going to conduct that, because these are all single families in that area, and utilities must be all underground. And then finally, probably Wayne will have to chime in on this, is how we're going to E91 these addresses for these duplexes with the 4 units. What will they be like? So those are just our initial comments. Obviously, as we get the full application, we'll have more to update, but those are just our initial cursory comments.
You're up, Dustin.
Okay. Thank you. So Dustin Roman with DM Roman Consulting Engineers, representing Dago Financial and Development for this project. We actually, so when we submitted these plans as sketch plan 3 weeks ago, we had done essentially a preliminary layout on the site, which kind of took the building and put it up fairly close to the road, squared it up with the road. And over the last few weeks since we had made that submission, we've been working on the development of the plans in preparation for the application that we had made today for the next meeting. And in going through the design iterations of grading out the site, there was some challenges based on the way we had proposed the building orientation previously, in that we had about 16 feet of elevation change from the driveway of the upper unit down to the rear walkout basement of the lower unit, which is really too much grade to accomplish unless you're going to end up with some very steep driveways and a lot of undesirable things. So what we've done, the plans that we had prepared and submitted for the next planning board meeting actually propose a single shared driveway that would come in off of Westview and split to the two homes. What this does is it allows us to enter the site on kind of the lower elevation grade on the lower southern corner, and basically try and take most of the grade out of the site as you come in with this shared driveway, and it allows us to site the building at an angle to the road, which allows it to fall along the contour on the rear side of the building. What this also does is allows us to maintain a tree save along the roadway, which will provide some visual buffer screening of this building. Being a 4-unit building, all one-story living, it's about a 160-foot long building. So having it squared right up to the road would potentially make it look a little out of context for this neighborhood. So we felt that by taking the building and rotating it 45 degrees will help, so it doesn't have such a long presence along the roadway. And again, it provides ability for tree safe buffers right up nearest to the roadway. The road grade coming into these two buildings is almost flat under this new layout, so that will help out a lot with emergency vehicle access into the site and just general ingress and egress. What it does require is a driveway that would not be necessarily squared up to Westview. So as you drive in, it would actually be more like a kind of like a fork in the road where you would take a turn left into the site versus coming in and turning, making a hard 90-degree turn. This would certainly, have better maneuverability for people coming into the site, emergency vehicles, and if this were a longer road where there was potential for vehicles to come out of the driveway and turn left, then we probably wouldn't propose an orientation like this. We would want a wider radius and try to square that driveway up a little bit more with Westview. But in this case, where we're basically the second to last home at the end of the hammerhead there, it seems more appropriate to try and have the best grades coming into the site instead of trying to turn that driveway in to square vehicles up to be able to turn out. We will clear sufficient area on that corner, even though we'll have a tree save. We'll make sure we clear sufficient area right at that corner so that as vehicles are exiting, that they've got a clear line of sight looking left for any vehicles that might be exiting some of those lots that are across the street or one lot further in. Another item that we've decided to modify from what we submitted was we had proposed that 12-foot wide connected porch element between the two buildings, as well as a 12-foot porch on the outside of the building. That made the building even longer than the 160 feet that I just explained. And added another 25, basically, 12, 24, 36 feet to the overall length of the building end to end. So what we've done instead is remove those center porch elements and just put the two buildings right together. So we've kept the vertical stagger between the two so that you're going to still have those hip roofs tying into each other with a 6-foot offset on the building. So you'll still have some nice roof lines going down through there and not just one big long building. As well as, even though you're not going to see the rear side of the building, we thought it was appropriate to give it that separation or that step in the rear so that you wouldn't have a 160-foot long straight wall in the back of the building. The units will have one common shared septic system to be installed. So there'll be 2 septic tanks that come out of the building, and then those will drain to one common leach field. We had that design completed previously, but since we've made this change to rotate the building, the corner of the building now interferes with where we had designed the leach field previously. So we do have the septic designer going back out to just do a new design a little bit further back from where we had shown it previously. The buildings will also have a single shared well that will serve all 4 dwellings. We're proposing to build a small outbuilding structure around that well that's going to also house the water treatment unit that we anticipate will be needed, just because it seems like that's pretty common these days. It's a little bit complicated when you have a condominium, in that any space that is, you know, common for all of the unit owners, you need to be able to provide access to that space from all unit owners. So trying to locate water treatment systems and things like that in a basement unit becomes a little bit problematic, just because other unit owners would need to have access into that space. So we felt that having a separate outbuilding would allow that to be housed in that location, and then we could also have one kind of more robust, nicer water treatment system that would treat, you know, the water for everybody. Underground power will be installed from the transformer that already exists at the corner of the property. So we're going to run that power kind of along the road frontage and then along the new driveway coming in, so that we avoid having to cut a swath right straight through the middle of that area. We're trying to do the tree save. For stormwater drainage through the site, I mean, everything drains from Westview to the west, heading, you know, basically through the property. There, the layout of the subdivision had created a lot division line that basically follows an existing drainage swale and wetland area through the property. So the water is being directed around the buildings and will be conveyed basically in that direction towards that drainage area. We will be picking up the drainage that comes down off the hill in a roadside swale that will come around the end of this shared driveway and go through a stone berm level spreader, so that we can kind of, you know, just slow that water down before it makes its way down into the wetland ditch area. There is like a stormwater buffer area that had been reserved on the rear side of the lot. Based on the topography, it's not super easy to really have water that just kind of gets into that buffer area. So what we did instead was, you know, we've laid out these level spreaders and ditches so that we can kind of, you know, again, spread that water out and convey it out to these natural drainage swales. You know, all this grading and stuff, again, was information that we had prepared and submitted for the next planning board meeting. So I'm just kind of giving you a little preview of what you'll see, and you know, certainly with the understanding that you know, take the time to review it between now and then, and certainly come up with what you have for questions. So as far as we did receive Wayne's preliminary comments on the initial layout, and you know, certainly the buildings will have sprinkler systems installed in them. The driveway layout that we've shown here is, again, is different from what we had shown previously, so we'll work with Wayne on auto turn template movements just to make sure that they can get in and out of this site. And we'll just want to have a discussion about the driveway itself coming in is about 200 feet long from where it comes off of Westview to the very end. It's not the easiest site because of the grades and the slopes to put some sort of an intermediate hammerhead to back up and be able to drive back out of this driveway. So I'm just going to need to work with Wayne and make sure that the town's comfortable with this sort of layout, and if not, what sort of improvements we can make to it so that, you know, vehicles can get in and out as needed. We have no concerns for passenger vehicles. There's plenty of room there for people to back out of the driveways, back into the turnarounds in this shared driveway and exit the site. But emergency vehicles would need to basically back out onto Westview, and they wouldn't be able to turn around in that 200-foot long driveway the way it's proposed. The driveway coming in is proposed to be 20 feet wide, so it's a kind of an extra wide driveway than what you'd normally see for two duplexes, but that's you know, what's needed for the fire apparatus, so we're happy to do that. And then, yeah, and as far as the rest of Wayne's comments, again, some of those may change a little bit just based on this new layout, so we expect to just continue to work with Wayne and Jim on that between now and the next meeting. So with the understanding that you really haven't seen this new plan except for putting it in front of you here, I think, you know, that the context of the project hasn't really changed, and that it's two duplexes kind of connected together on this one lot. We've done the net residential density calculations to show that it supports the development. You know, we've taken measures to try and, you know, provide some screening to the best we can and reduce the massing of this building for this neighborhood, which is all, predominantly single-family homes coming up through here. So with that, turn it back over to the board and happy to answer questions.
Thanks, Dustin. Jim? Did you?
I did my thing already.
I saw you looking through there, and
I was just looking to see if we had anything in our ordinance that would pertain to driveway orientation, but we don't.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Good.
No, go ahead, Jim. You have something?
I was just gonna say, the only other thing I can think of is that, knowing this area and having seen it before, we do know that there's a fair amount of runoff coming off this hill. We're gonna have to, with the lot orientation, we're gonna have to be very careful about where we're sending that water. Because it's all down gradient from the top down, so that'll be a concern.
I'm all set.
This is not a public hearing, but are you here for this particular project? Yeah. You are. Would you like to, it's not a public hearing, but I certainly would be interested in hearing a comment or two if you would so desire. Sure. We don't usually get any audience, so if you just state your name and address before you start.
Excuse me. My name is Sam. I live at 18 Westview Drive. It's past this development proposal. I didn't prepare a lot to speak today because I didn't think that we were going to have the opportunity. But just quickly, I think that in general, the residents of Westview Estates are very concerned about this development, it being so out of character with the neighborhood, certainly out of character of the scheme of development that was done since the Westview Estates was created. And 5 years ago, nearly 5 years ago, when Albert was here, he certainly spoke and gave, I think, the impression that single family was what the proposal was. And I think he understood that was the nature of the neighborhood and the nature of the covenants and that exist in Westview Estates. So I think that the board should take this very seriously, as I know you would, but certainly we are as a neighborhood. And a lot of us are here today and some aren't, but certainly we're certainly concerned. So
okay, who you mentioned that it was developed as a single family. Who is that? You were talking
Alfred.
Yeah, just mentioning when Albert was here, and he spoke and I think advertised it like that. Yep. And I think that was how we took it and understood it, and of course that was keeping with how things have been developed in Westview Estates, and how we feel like it is required to be too. So, okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Does that pretty much say it all, or would somebody else like to say anything?
I think. Well,
go ahead.
My name's Danelle Maloney. I am a resident at 7 Westview Drive, and I think we've met as a community, and we're all in alignment in what Sam has said. So in terms of what you as the board has pointed out, certainly the two things that you highlighted, the ordinance in conforming with the original Westview Estates that was developed by Evergreen is something that we would want to be reviewed in context of this proposed plan, as we don't think it conforms with the original plan for the neighborhood and is restricted to that. So additionally, the vegetative buffer is certainly a concern as well. Within that lot, there are 9 children that live within 100 feet or so of that lot. And specific to the plan itself, it's worthwhile to note that CJ Payne, who's sitting over here to my left, his property is actually visible on the plan. It's just not included, and it's only within 20 to 30 feet of that back corner. So while I understand that the setbacks are village residential, it certainly doesn't conform with the original plan of the neighborhood. And to a certain extent, I'm be concerned about how certain things were developed as the plan came along.
Okay, thanks.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Were there original covenants beyond what was on the approved subdivision plan that the residents, each resident has to abide by?
And which residents are you speaking to specifically?
The ones on Westview Drive.
Westview Drive 1 through 8 has specific covenants listed. There's a plan, the original plan, it's volume 154, book, page 2. Speaks to the original plan of Evergreen. And within that plan, this land is carved out in the remaining land of Evergreen Trust. There was an additional memorandum that was recorded. I cannot recall the volume and the book off the page off the top of my head, but it was in 1989, I believe, between Albert Frick and Evergreen, in which the remaining land was carved out into separate lots, numbered, and so as a result, certainly contemplated within the scheme of the development of the neighborhood.
Did that answer the question?
It does for now. I guess we'll just have to see where they take this, because they'll have to be part of that association at some point, and I assume they'll have to meet the covenants of that development. I'm not sure, but we'll have to see what the documents unfold.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
And that was a note that I had, that I want to review the original Westview subdivision. It's got to be single family. If it is stated, then yeah.
I'm not sure the timeline though. I'm not sure. Were you here? When did this get? Because I know a section of this town got revised to be.
I don't remember this project, but it could have been while I was absent.
Yeah, it might have been. With the revision, might have been while you're absent.
Right.
But I don't know. Do we know when?
2018, I believe, the extension.
The extension. Yeah.
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 But
So I
know that was the extension. But was this one of the areas in town that went from residential to a village with a zone change?
I don't know.
That may have been another change that happened along the way too.
Yep.
But we can deal with that as we get the full application.
Yep.
Do you have a question, Dustin, or do you just kind of?
No, I'm just,
okay.
Just felt like standing, I guess.
So I do think, given that this is a unique duplex in a single-family residence, we probably should do a site walk.
Oh yeah, both that point.
Okay.
That was another point.
I was just wondering whether or not.
We're talking about everything I put on there. Yeah, sidewalk for sure. Yeah.
Do we want to do the research first, and then the site walk may become not necessary, or do you want to just do the site walk?
I mean, they've posted an application.
So we should do the
We
site
should
walk.
do the site walk.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Sandy, we're up for site walk.
Yep, I hear you. We still need the same amount of time.
The same, really? What?
Yeah, no figures.
The process didn't change.
No, not while we're all sitting here, no.
But it got later.
Can we do both
No.
on the second? No, I don't.
No. So, June, why don't we do it the next week? How's the 7th? Oh, that's right before the meeting.
Well, we could do it right before the meeting.
We could do it right before.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Because it's an amended it's a site plan, so I mean.
There's not much really to look at. We're just going to look at the community. We could do it right before the meeting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it at 6 or something.
6, yeah.
6
Sure.
before the meeting?
Yeah.
Dustin?
That'd be the 8th.
That would be the 8th.
Yep, that works for me.
Sandy, 8 June?
Got it.
Good.
6 p.m.
And just meet at the property?
Yes.
Okay.
And then other than staking out building corners, is there anything else the board would want to see?
Probably just the perimeter of the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The envelope and the footprint.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where the actually house is going to be, where the corners.
Yeah, well, we'll stake out the buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit to Dustin, somewhere with that driveway orientation, so we can understand that
Okay.
angle.
Yeah, certainly where it will be coming into the site and then the direction.
Yep.
And we'll certainly,
Cut off.
yeah, we'll do some extensive research on those potential covenants that were raised. I mean, we
Okay.
weren't aware of those, but we'll definitely dig into that.
Good. I didn't mean to cut anybody else off. Did anybody else want to say anything that, that added to this?
I don't know, I was gonna say, summarize.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
understand
okay.
this is not a public hearing. We don't want to waste your valuable time either.
Okay. So there will be a public hearing if it does continue, and you are certainly welcome to join, and we hope that you do have a chance to join us for the sidewalk.
Thank you.
Okay. And the last thing on the agenda is no longer there, is that correct?
That's correct. Do we have to vote on that one too?
Has it been tabled? Alex?
He is for postponement, so
Okay.
you probably want to just table it.
Which one?
So you don't have
That's
to
her
announce his
proposal.
last name, you can do it.
Shabowski.
Yeah.
Shabowski?
Okay.
Shabowski, yeah.
Did I scare him? Did I scare him?
So I move that we table the application being submitted for the possible division of a lot in Birchwood subdivision by Francis Shabowski.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, tabled.
Those are for the findings for, we're not on this other plan.
All right.
Yep.
We have a,
The last order of business is we have some signatures that we need to do.
Yeah, I also have here copies of, because I know we're not all gonna be here in person, so.
You have Mike Richmond too.
don't we have a planning
Right,
board
that-
member?
Yes.
Potential planning board
Oh, we do.
member person?
I was asking about you. You must have snuck in on me. I'm sorry. Come on up and step to the mic. Step there. We have a short 450 questionnaire to ask to go through, but it should take no more than 2 hours. Is that, unless you're willing, you know.
Wait, he said time was, he said he had the time on here, so.
Wow. It's all yours. If you just introduce yourself and tell us why you want to be on board.
Absolutely. I guess I'll keep it short and sweet. I guess personally, born and raised in Portland, ended up marrying my college sweetheart and lived in Gorham for a long time and just recently moved here to Raymond and love it. We have two kids that are both out of state now, so empty nest, and want to see if I can, do some good. Professionally, I've owned a small architecture firm in Scarborough for over 20-something years now. Whoa. So very familiar with the process of, zoning boards, planning boards, sort of from both sides of it. I did serve in Gorham on their planning board for a term, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I really feel that good planning and good land uses, it's just so important. So so that's basically me in a nutshell.
And we didn't scare you away today? Or put you to sleep?
Not yet. No, I'm good.
We'll try harder next time.
So we will send your name to the selectmen who actually make the appointment.
You got it.
And they sometimes do like to see you. I don't know. Sandy, do you know?
They typically do, I think.
They typically.
Yeah,
Sandy?
we let them know that you guys have approved him and are sending it to the select board, and then Sue schedules with the select board so that Mike can go meet with them.
Okay. So Sue will probably get in touch with you for when actually to show up, if they want you there.
Yeah, or she'll tell me, one of us will be in touch with you about it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. We're down a member. Actually, we have 2 down today for some reason.
Oh.
But thank you. We appreciate the desire to join us.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks.
volunteering.
Thank you.
We need
All right.
So I have one item here. I did pass out tonight, the
Yes.
findings of fact.
We just need to vote to send them.
We need to vote, whether you want to accept it, and then you can come in independent, you can sign, a few of you can
Wait,
sign
no, we're
it
talking about
tonight.
different things. We need to
I
vote
think we need to vote for
for
this.
Michael.
Oh,
To
sorry.
send it to the select.
Sorry, I thought you did that, sorry.
Nope.
Yep, I move that we forward Michael Richmond's application or his want to be on the planning board to the select board.
Second, everybody approved? Passed? Kevin?
Aye.
Done, passed. Okay, now,
Yeah. I passed out this evening, and I did send it out to everybody via email as well, the findings of fact that we did for Raymond Hills.
Yep.
I just saw that.
So if you want to read it tonight, and then I think you can either come into the town, because I know the other board members will have to come into the town to sign it as well. So we can either leave it up to the few of you that are here can sign it tonight if you want to, or you can peruse it, and it'd be great if we could maybe vote on it, but I understand you just got it, so.
Yeah,
I don't know, Dustin, where are they with that, Raymond Hills?
I mean, we brought the plans tonight for signature, so, yeah, we just.
Looking at the area.
Yep, so we're just going through the, kind of the pre-construction items now, lining up our, water district inspectors, all that. We're gonna have a pre-construction meeting with the town before we, do anything, cut any trees or anything like that. But I think we're just trying to get all the paperwork out of the way now with the signed plan, get it recorded, work with you on performance guarantees, and kind of go through all those items. And then we'll certainly have a pre-con meeting before we hit the ground.
I understand you haven't had a chance to look at this, so I mean, this was a long, lengthy one for me to even prepare.
okay.
So I don't know if you want to,
Where is that sucker? I just need to refresh myself on what's in there.
really there was the waiver, there were 2 waivers.
Yep.
And 3 conditions. The 2 waivers were for the road and for the number of lots served. And the 3 conditions were third-party inspections for the road construction, for the groundwater. The project is subject to the conditions placed on by state for the leach field, as well as the stormwater treatment measures, and then it's almost becoming a normal now, Wayne, all the conditions and requirements of Wayne's memo.
And we've got no DEP.
There is DEP.
And they have the DEP.
They have a DEP permit, yes, they had that in February.
Yeah, so if I could find my copy, I would think we could move forward with it. I don't think we
You can at least vote on it this evening, then
Right.
people come in and sign it.
Yep.
At the town hall.
Move that we accept the finding of fact for
Raymond Hills.
Raymond Hill Village subdivision.
Second. Any discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Wayne.
Hey, Jim, did you reference the memo in your findings of that?
Yes, I did.
Yep.
It's on the last page, February 23rd, 2022 memorandum. It's on the very last page before the signatures.
C.
You need to sign it.
Oh, you want to see this?
Great,
No,
thank you, Jim.
Like I said, Wayne, you're almost becoming a standard condition now.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says, probably.
It's fine. It's all good.
All right, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Passed.
Okay.
All right, so, do you want, we need a copy to sign.
Yep, just take one of yours. You can take one of yours and do the signatures on the...
All right, let's use yours. We'll pass it down.
Didn't we already send that one?
No, that was the other one we signed.
Oh. Oh, yeah, we
can do it right in there.
And you have the Mylar as well to sign, right?
Yep. Is this the Mylar for Raymond Hills?
Sorry, Bob, I started writing on yours.
That's all right, wouldn't really matter. We can read either one of them. So if we didn't do this, we could bring Dustin back for the next meeting, couldn't we?
We got the Westview anyway.
Oh, all right, okay. All right.
As long as you're here.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same without you.
So for new applications, we have...
I think we got to see each one of these, right, John?
Yes.
I don't think we have anything other than Dustin.
There's no Mylar?
No, the
They don't
registry
use
only wants
Mylars
paper.
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mylars.
Mylars are a thing of the
gone?
past, yep. It's all paper and electronic now.
Wow.
So as far as other correspondence, next meeting, I know we have Dustin coming in for,
I was gonna give these to you, just gonna go to Sandy.
we have Dustin coming in for Westview. We have the tabled items from this evening for, what's that called?
Management controls,
Fernwood?
yep, and that other subdivision, Birchwood.
Right.
Oh, that, will they be back in June?
I believe he wanted to be tabled till June.
Okay.
Anything else, Sandy? Anything else that's come in that I'm not remembering?
And that one for, and that one for
Whatever was on my desk, Alex, is what came in.
Okay.
and that one for Birchwood is just a discussion. They haven't formally applied for anything.
Correct.
Okay. And we're all set for town meeting for the ordinances?
Yep. Warrant's been set.
We're done.
The warrant's been set, so will that be before the next?
Move to adjourn.
It may be.
Second. All those in favor? We're done.